Hi, welcome to the Sit, Walk, Work podcast, a show about paying attention. My name is Dominic, your host, and today's episode is a standalone guided meditation designed to give you an opportunity to practice pretty much wherever you are. So when you're ready, the practice will begin shortly after the following chimes. It is a guided meditation practice. So it's going to provide you with the opportunity to listen to me, give you various prompts to focus your attention. It is a non movement class. So we will be seated or lying down. Now, because it's 60 minutes, if you start seated and you need to transition, I certainly welcome that. Really, I welcome you to be as comfortable as possible. So if you're lying down, that's perfect. If you're lying back in a recliner, that's good too. There's no really wrong way to approach it. Just know that sitting for 60 minutes is a long time. So if you need to make adjustments, we'll take about a minute to do that, and then we'll go ahead and formally kick off practice. And also, while you're getting yourself comfortable, if you have blankets or something that you can cover yourself with during the practice nearby, it might be wise. Oftentimes, as we start to relax, our core temperature can adjust a few degrees, and so it can just be nice to have a blanket nearby to kind of grab if you need it. Not a requirement, just a mild suggestion. So, uh, yeah. Let's begin our journey together. As I stated earlier, this is a non movement practice. I'll be providing you with various prompts to guide your attention in a multitude of directions. And your job is to kind of observe and watch and be a good host to whatever kind of comes up. Meeting things with a very curious and open attention can help you to get a lot more benefit out of the practice in this kind of observation of your experience, as I like to think of it. So, the first thing that I'll call your attention to today is noticing just kind of the quality of the mind you brought into practice. And this is a very subtle thing. And the example I'll use comes from my own personal life. I had a very kind of busy, hectic day prior to coming to sit here to teach. And so I had to make a transition out of that kind of frazzled, fragmented state of mind so that I could have a little more stability to be able to sit here and offer practice for all of you. And so a lot of our day predicates the quality of our mind. So it's just simply something to note. This idea of noting is just really observing what's there, and it'll give you a baseline as we kind of check in towards the end of practice. And we're going to begin to step away from the thinking mind and move a little more into the spaces of sensations and of our sensory information, I should say. So, one of the ways you can think about that is just letting your attention kind of open really wide and kind of scan your environment for just the senses that are most present: touch, sound, taste, smells. Most of you may have your eyes closed. But even with the eyes closed, you can look into the space of your visual field and get a sense for what's there. And it's nice just to let our attention calmly focus on the senses, since those are what are going to be the doorways to our experience. And as you're observing your senses here in this moment, know that there's not a right or wrong way to do that. If your attention gets caught up in a sound, follow it until something else hooks the attention, and then follow that till something else hooks the attention. We'll spend about another minute just observing our open awareness. Now we'll begin to let our attention acknowledge what brought us into practice today. I like to think of this as what was your motivating factors for being here, for giving yourself this time and space. And in the practice, we think of an intention in a couple different capacities. One, it's as simply as the motivation that brought you here today. Or two, maybe that motivation is connected to a larger purpose, something bigger, something that drives a lot of things in your life. Call that our heartfelt desire. It's the thing we most wish to kind of come true for ourselves and our lives. One of the things to kind of notice as you are focusing here on your intention or your heartfelt desire is, what is the language, or how is the language used to describe these? Are these things that are in the future, somewhere down the line, that one day you want to arrive at? And what would it feel like if you brought that intention that might be in the distance to the present moment? Instead of acknowledging what you want to be, acknowledging what you are in this space and time right now. Notice how that feels if you hold your intention as as already having been done, created. Now let your attention begin to acknowledge, connect with, or recognize the parts of your experience right now that feel very grounding to you. Could be the way your breath feels and how the body is breathing itself. One of the ways that you can really connect to and feel a sense of ground is through the physical body, the weight of it, feeling the points of the body that are connected to the surface that supports it. These are all components that are doorways or opportunities to feeling grounded. The idea is to see where you can connect to that feeling in your body somatically. And if you find yourself challenged to really feel what a sense of groundedness feels like, take a minute or two here and just reflect for a moment or a time in which you did feel supported, grounded, held. What were the conditions that made that to be true? Could have been time with a certain group of people, a place, a pet. There's no wrong answer, but when you arrive to the memory of that felt sense, that feeling of being grounded, see if you can hold on to that within the body. This concept, we call it our inner resource. I think of it as an anchor more than anything else. The way that this practice kind of unfolds gives you something that you can come back to if you find yourself meeting resistance throughout the practice. You'll begin to scan the body as I will direct your attention to various points throughout the body. You simply observe what, if any, sensations are present. The body, like the breath, like the thoughts of the mind. Some parts of it can be a little more active than others. Know that it's okay and common to sometimes not sense an area as we scan through it. So we'll begin to bring our attention right to the space between the eyebrows, to the point here, allowing yourself to notice, feel any sensations present in this space. Moving down from the point between the eyebrows, we come to the notch at the base of the throat. observing any sensations you might feel there as your attention softly rests here. And then your attention follows from that notch at the base of the throat out through the right shoulder, across the right collarbone, into the upper part of the right arm. Feel where your skin meets the surface beneath it. Notice the temperature that's present, any textures moving against the skin. As your attention travels down the right arm to the right elbow, through the right elbow, from the right elbow through the forearm to the right wrist. And then letting attention softly rest in your right hand, center of the palm. From the center of the palm, feel the aliveness of the hand all the way out through the fingertips. As you begin to walk your attention back from the fingers to the center of the palm, into the right wrist, back through the right forearm to the right elbow, from the elbow through the upper part of the right arm, back across the collarbone, arriving back at the notch at the base of the throat. And then notice the whole right arm is just sensation. Can you feel the boundaries shift as you let the form of the arm drop away and just notice how it feels and how those sensations move from the fingertips all the way up to the throat? Grounded, heavy, relaxed, and supported. Moving from the notch at the base of the throat, we begin to scan our attention in the opposite direction. Moving across the left collarbone, shoulder. Into the left upper arm. Down to the left elbow. Tension here. What do the sensations feel like? Comfortable or uncomfortable? And what happens when your attention focuses on them? Moving from the left elbow through the left forearm into the left wrist. From the left wrist, we move to the center of the left palm. Letting attention spider out to each finger. Feel where the hand connects to the surface it's resting on. As your attention moves softly from the fingers back to the center of the palm, up to the wrist of the left arm through the left forearm, back to the left elbow, traveling up the upper part of the left arm, through the shoulder, back to the notch at the base of the throat. Sensing now, feeling now the left arm, all is sensation. Notice what happens if you let your attention oscillate between the left and the right arm, feeling one side and then focusing on the other. Noticing where things are the same and where they are different. Keeping in mind that there's no wrong way to observe what and how the body is showing up in this moment. It's simply observing. Letting the attention begin to shift down to the center of the chest. We call this your heart space. What does it feel like as the attention moves down into a different part of the body? And notice the sensations that might be present at the center of the chest. Moving attention over to the right side of the chest. Feeling the front of the chest. And also feeling the back, how it's supporting you. Returning the attention back to the center of the chest. And then letting it guide over into the left side of the chest. You might feel your heartbeat, your rhythm, your pulse. Where else does that sensation arise? Drawing attention back to the center of the chest, and then allow yourself just to move between the left and the right side of the chest. A reminder that while we may observe these parts independently, they work together. To make the whole. Journeying from the center of the chest through the belly where you might feel the breath moving with each inhale and exhale. Coming all the way down to our navel, our belly button area. Pausing and letting our attention hold here. As we draw out from the navel, we begin to arrive at the right hip, the right sits bones. Typically, these are the parts of our body that have a little more weight to them, a little more sturdiness. Coming into the upper part of the right leg, hold us, support us, and ground us. Moving through the right knee, down through the right calf and the right shin till you arrive at the right ankle, moving from the right ankle into the center of the right foot, and then attention spidering out to all of the toes. Noticing sensations that are present within the entire right leg. How do they change? Letting yourself feel what's there, if at all possible. Dropping the thinking mind back. Simply sensing the leg, this sensation. Taking attention and moving it from the toes back to the center of the foot, back through the right ankle, up the leg to the knee, moving from the right knee through the right leg to the right hip. Bringing attention back to the space at the center of the navel, the belly button. And just notice what the whole right leg feels like. Heavy, relaxed, grounded, supported. Letting your attention softly move to the left, coming out from the navel to the left hip, the left sit bones, down into the upper part of the left leg, feeling the pulse of the leg, moving from the upper part of the left leg into through the left knee into the lower part of the left leg, calf and shin, to the left ankle, arriving at the center of the left foot, attention spidering out from that center through the toes, noting what sensations and differences are there compared to the right side. And then moving from the toes back to the center of the left foot, to the left ankle, tension passing through the calf and shin, back to the left knee, through the upper part of the left leg, the left hip, the left sit bones, and arriving back at the belly button or navel. So we begin to work our way back to where we started. Notice how the map adjusts. Moment to moment, it shifts. As we move from the navel, we go back to the heart. To the space that houses our love and our compassion. To the space we protect and yet must remain open for us to fully experience all that life has to offer. We move from the heart back to this space between the eyebrows, completing our journey through the body. And as we do, simply allow your attention to open wide and feel the entire body just as sensation. Like when we opened our attention to our senses, let your attention take a minute or two and be drawn to whatever sensations are most calling it within the body. Remembering that at any point in time, if you need to, you can get a sense for that inner resource we talked about at the beginning of practice, that sense of groundedness. When you look to connect to that, how does it show up? Now, after letting your attention pass through the body, we'll begin to open our attention up now to the more subtle parts of our experience of this moment, moving from the body to the breath, letting ourselves move from the space where we were focused on what is external to what moves us internally. Like the water that kind of shapes and molds the earth, our breath does that to us. There's a relationship between the way breath dictates our form and form dictates our breath. So can you feel where the body is breathing itself? And we'll begin now to intertwine the body and the breath together simultaneously, letting our attention rest back at the point at the center of the heart. And we'll spend about 2 minutes focused here, breathing into this space, counting down from 9 to 1. So, with your attention held at the center of the chest, you would inhale and exhale for 9. Inhale and exhale for 8, and so on and so forth. Each inhale and exhale counting as one round, moving down from the number 9 to 1. If you find yourself losing count along the way, just start over. If you make it all the way through the count, simply start over from 9, working your way back down to 1. Let the counting begin to drop away. This breath exercise is about rotating the power of attention and breath through the body. So let the attention move now from the space at the center of the heart down into the legs, where we will spend the next couple minutes performing the same exercise. Now breathing into the space in the lower half of the body that grounds you, that works in concert with the heart. To have the heart fully open without a sense of groundedness leads to more suffering, discomfort. When you pair it with boundaries and foundation, create a bit more balance. Letting your countdown from 9 to 1 begin, resting attention in the legs. being mindful of the way we interact with ourselves. If the counting slips or you have to start over, there's an attitude of gentleness that we want to meet ourselves with. And letting our attention now return back to a place that it started. At the beginning of class, I asked you, what was the state of your mind, the quality of it at that moment? I asked you that same question after the opportunity to sit with the body and with the breath. Let our attention begin to focus on the quality of our thoughts and mind in this moment. As we observe the thoughts, we start to note or notice how certain thoughts land in our experience, the way they generate sensations or maybe impact the breath in a positive or maybe a less positive way. Take a moment and just notice what happens when you invite in the opposite of whatever you're thinking about in this moment. This invitation to explore the opposites is simply to notice how that physically shows up as a felt sense in your body, as breath or sensation. Remembering that if needed, you can reconnect with your anchor, that sense of groundedness. Take a minute to kind of explore what these opposites feel like in the body. What happens when you oscillate between the way one feels and the way the other feels? Happens if you try to hold both at the same time, the current thought and its opposite, simultaneously as a feeling. What does that do to your experience? Does the mind, like the breath, shift and change moment to moment? Or like the sensations in your body? Do certain thoughts come and go and come back again? On this journey of experiencing and observing your experience, has there been moments of joy or gratitude, or when you recognize something that felt good? If so, allow that to come to the center of the stage. Let your attention focus on those moments from practice today. That cultivate those feelings or sensations within you. And if something maybe hasn't appeared that way for you today, this is where we start to use the power of the thinking mind in conjunction with the breath and with the body in our felt sense. Recall a memory, a time in which the sensation of joy or gratitude was true. Doesn't matter when in the span of your life that it occurred or who it was with or what you were doing. You can make the memory big. You can invite in as much sensory detail as you can recall. And as soon as you can feel that in your body, simply let the memory dissolve and attend to the feeling. When you can begin to sense and feel the joy or the gratitude within the body, you can begin to learn that these are spaces and places that, with the focus of your attention, you can revisit at any moment that's right for you. Today's practice has allowed you to experience the variety of changing elements unfolding in front of you step by step, moment by moment. But as you've observed, there's been a consistency present as well, a steadiness, a sense of groundedness that allowed for all of this change to happen, or something that was unchanging. We call this your awareness. Awareness is the space in which your experience unfolds. It's spacious and empty, and it has the room to hold all the parts that make up you and your experience. Can you let your attention begin to notice this awareness? Recognizing and attending to the fact that you're not separate from the awareness that's holding your experience. You're one with it. Seeing if attention can move between the breath and the body, the thoughts that have been arising through practice, the things that you are experiencing, and then turning back on itself and resting in that space of awareness, the space in which your experience is actually happening. letting your attention now soften and open back to where you began at the start of practice, back to your intentions, back to your heartfelt desire, purpose, mission. It might be present or relevant. Taking a moment and acknowledging the things that you experienced in practice, that you watched unfold, the thoughts, the breath, the body. Moment to moment changing experience. Start to let your attention open to the sounds, sounds in the room, sounds in the body, sounds all around you. And sounds start to bring your attention back into the body, sensing and feeling the hands and feet. Might even open and close the hands or point and flex the toes just to help slowly begin to bring the body back online. Practice of IRS is now complete, but slowly allow yourself to exit the practice, taking your time to recognize that as you come out of the practice, that your outer experience and your inner experience that you just witnessed, two parts the same, open up in the same space of awareness. They're not distinctly separate as much as they are universally whole. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I invite you to check out my Substack, where we are building a community of like-minded individuals to discuss all topics related to the idea of paying attention. I hope to see you there. But until then, with metta may you be well.